Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something powerful. Sometimes your greatest strength doesn't come from what you give, it comes from what you withhold. Sometimes the act of stepping back is not about losing, but about gaining your clarity, your self-worth, your freedom. And here's the truth. When you step away, the person who took you for granted suddenly starts to feel the weight of your absence. They start to fall apart because they never imagined a world where you wouldn't be there holding everything together. This is not about revenge, it's not about games, it's about rediscovering you, and when you step into your power, the entire dynamic of your relationship shifts. When you're constantly present in someone's life, they begin to forget the weight of your presence. Human nature has a strange way of devaluing what it sees every single day. When something or someone is always available, it can easily be taken for granted, not because you're not worthy, but because the mind gets comfortable. It assumes that you'll always be there, like air, like water, like the ground beneath their feet, and that assumption is where the blindness begins. They no longer stop to appreciate your effort, your sacrifices, your love. They stop recognizing the magic of what you bring into their world, but the moment you step away, everything changes. The silence hits them harder than your words ever could. The gap becomes undeniable. The things they ignored, your support, your encouragement, your presence, become glaringly obvious because suddenly they're gone. Think about it. When the music stops, that's when you realize how much it filled the room. When the sun sets, that's when you miss its warmth. In the same way, when you step away, the person who took you lightly begins to notice the emptiness that fills the space you once occupied. They feel it in the moments when they look for you and you're not there. They feel it in the way their world feels less steady, less certain, less alive without your presence to anchor it. And that awareness doesn't come gently. It crashes in like a tidal wave of realization. What they once overlooked suddenly becomes the very thing they can't stop thinking about. The truth is, absence is one of the greatest teachers. You can spend months, even years, telling someone what you mean, but those words often get lost in the noise of routine. Yet the second you step away, the lesson becomes crystal clear without you having to say a single word. They start to replay every moment, every conversation, every gesture, wondering how they missed it, how they didn't see the value of what was right in front of them. That's the power of absence. It creates awareness. It forces a person to confront the reality they've been blind to. But here's the key. This isn't about playing games. This isn't about pretending to walk away to manipulate someone into chasing you. This is about self-respect. It's about understanding that your energy, your presence, and your love are not things to be wasted on someone who can't even see them. By stepping back, you're not punishing them. You're simply choosing you. And in doing so, you create the space for them to wake up, to realize what they lost, to face the consequences of taking you for granted. So, absence creates awareness because it strips away the comfort of assumption. It removes the illusion that you'll always be there no matter how little you're valued. It teaches the other person in a way your words never could. And at the same time, it teaches you something too, that your worth doesn't decrease because someone failed to see it. Your absence reminds them, and it reminds you. It's a wake-up call for both sides, for them to finally appreciate, and for you to finally claim your power. Stepping back is not a retreat. It's a declaration of strength. It's one of the boldest moves you can make because it says, I am no longer willing to stand in places where my value is questioned. Most people confuse stepping away with giving up, but it's the complete opposite. Quitting is surrendering to weakness, but stepping back is rising into power. It's about refusing to pour yourself into something or someone who drains you, and instead choosing to direct that energy into your own growth, your own healing, your own self-worth. There's a deep courage in that choice because it forces you to let go of familiarity, even when it's comfortable, and embrace the unknown in the name of self-respect. Think about how easy it is to stay in situations that no longer serve you. You tell yourself things will get better, you compromise, you shrink, you bend until you can't recognize yourself anymore. Why? Because stepping away feels terrifying. It means facing silence instead of constant noise, space instead of closeness, and freedom instead of routine. But the truth is, that very act of stepping back is what allows you to breathe again. It's what allows you to remember who you are when you're not carrying the weight of someone else's expectations. That's not weakness. That's strength on a level most people never tap into. When you take that step back, the shift happens. Suddenly, the dynamic changes. The person who once assumed you'd always be there starts to feel the loss. They start to realize that your love, your effort, your loyalty weren't permanent guarantees. They were choices you made every day, and by stepping away, you've withdrawn that choice. That's when the cracks appear in their world. They start to notice how much of their life you held together, how much energy you brought into every interaction, and how different things feel without you. That's not cruelty, that's clarity. But the deeper truth is this: stepping back is not about them, it's about you. It's about reclaiming your energy, your time, your joy. It's about saying, I deserve more than crumbs when I was made for abundance. When you stop chasing validation, you open yourself up to opportunities, relationships, and experiences that actually match your value. You begin to attract what aligns with your worth instead of what drains it, and that transformation only happens when you're brave enough to take that step back. So stepping away is stepping up. It's stepping into a higher standard for yourself. It's refusing to be an option when you deserve to be a priority. It's letting go of a dynamic that stifles your spirit so that you can rise into one that nourishes it. It's standing tall in your worth, even if it means standing alone for a while. And in that strength, you discover something life-changing. You were never meant to fall apart when you walk away. You were meant to rise. Pressure has a way of revealing truth in ways comfort never can. When everything is smooth, when you're always present, when you're carrying the weight of the relationship, it's easy for someone to hide behind words, promises, and appearances. They can tell you they care, they can tell you they'll be there, but as long as you're doing the heavy lifting, they don't actually have to prove it. It's only when you step back, when you remove your constant support, that the real test begins. That's when pressure exposes who they truly are. Think of it like fire and metal. Metal looks strong when it's untouched, sitting calmly on a shelf, but put it in the fire, apply heat, and suddenly you see its real nature. It either bends, breaks, or becomes something stronger. People are the same. As long as you're carrying them, propping them up, giving endlessly, they can pretend. But the moment you step away, the heat turns up, the pressure rises, and the truth about their character is revealed. Do they rise to the occasion, or do they collapse without you? That moment tells you everything you need to know. Pressure doesn't create character, it reveals it. If someone falls apart the moment you remove yourself, it means they never intended to meet you halfway in the first place. They relied on you to do it all. But if someone steps forward, if they fight to close the gap you created, if they show you through action that your presence is not something they can live without, that's when you see a glimpse of real commitment. And the only way to know which one you're dealing with is by stepping back and allowing the pressure to do its work. This is why silence, distance, and absence are so powerful. They strip away the masks. When you stop explaining yourself, when you stop begging to be seen, when you stop doing all the work, you hand the responsibility back to them. And in that moment, their true nature surfaces. Will they make the effort? Will they change their behavior? Will they value what they almost lost? Or will they crumble because they never had the strength to truly show up in the first place? That truth is uncomfortable, but it's liberating. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And here's the most important part. Don't fear what pressure reveals. If their collapse exposes a lack of care, a lack of commitment, a lack of character, that's a gift. It frees you from wasting more of your life investing in someone who was never going to rise with you. But if they step up, if they fight for the connection, if they reveal the strength you always hoped was there, then you've gained something even greater, certainty. Either way, you win because the truth empowers you. So remember this, pressure is not your enemy. It is the spotlight that reveals reality. When you step back and allow the pressure to build, you're no longer blinded by illusions. You finally see who they really are, and that truth, no matter how painful, sets you free to choose the life and the love you truly deserve. Your energy is the most precious currency you will ever own, yet it's the one we often give away the easiest. You give your time, your love, your focus, your attention, your very presence. And most of the time, you don't even realize just how valuable those things are because they feel natural to you. But make no mistake, your energy is not infinite. It's not something that can be poured endlessly without consequence. And here's the truth. When you step away, when you remove that flow of energy from someone's life, they finally come to understand its value. They feel the emptiness where your laughter used to echo, the silence where your encouragement used to ring, the void where your support once stood strong. That absence teaches them what they refused to recognize while you were right in front of them. Too often, people treat your energy like it's replaceable, like there will always be another text, another call, another visit, another sacrifice. They get so comfortable with your giving that they stop respecting it. They stop saying thank you. They stop noticing how much effort it takes for you to keep showing up, to keep loving, to keep investing. But the moment you step away, the illusion shatters. They feel the difference instantly. And it's not a small difference, it's seismic. It shakes their world because your energy was never just about actions. It was about the life, the spirit, the light you carried into every room, every conversation, every part of their life. Respect is rarely taught through words, it's taught through experience. You can tell someone to appreciate you, but if they don't feel the consequences of failing to do so, they won't truly get it. When you step away, you give them that experience. You let them sit in the emptiness, you let them wrestle with the silence, you let them face the reality of life without your energy fueling it. And that right there is when respect is born, not forced, not demanded, but earned through awareness. But this isn't just about them, it's about you too. Protecting your energy means honoring yourself. It means realizing you cannot pour endlessly into people who don't pour back. It means understanding that your love and attention are sacred, and not everyone deserves unlimited access to them. When you reclaim your energy, you redirect it toward yourself, your goals, your healing, your growth, your happiness. And in doing so, you raise your own vibration, which naturally attracts people who recognize, respect, and reciprocate what you bring to the table. Energy is power, and power demands respect. When you give it away without boundaries, you teach people how to misuse it. But when you step back, when you pull that energy inward, you send a message louder than words. I am valuable, my presence matters, my love is not free, it is earned. And when they finally feel the gap, when they finally realize how much their world dims without your light, that's when they learn what your energy was worth all along. Detachment is one of the most misunderstood strengths in life. People often mistake it for indifference, for coldness, or for not caring. But true detachment is none of those things. It is freedom. It is the ability to step back, to breathe, to separate your identity from the constant pull of someone else's expectations or treatment. It's the decision to stop tying your happiness to another person's actions, moods, or choices, and instead anchoring it to your own sense of worth. When you step away, when you create that distance, you are not rejecting love. You are rejecting chains. You are saying, I refuse to live in a space where my joy depends on someone else's inconsistency. That is not a loss, it's liberation. Think about how heavy it feels when you're constantly attached to proving yourself, explaining yourself, or waiting for someone to finally give you the recognition you deserve. That weight drains you because you're living in reaction rather than in power. Every time they don't respond the way you hoped, you shrink. Every time they take without giving back, you bend. Over time, you forget who you are outside of that cycle. Detachment breaks that cycle. It gives you back the gift of space, the space to see clearly, to feel your own power, to remember what it's like to move through life without needing permission to shine. When you choose detachment, you don't stop loving. You simply stop losing yourself in love. You stop overinvesting in people who underdeliver. You stop carrying responsibilities that aren't yours to carry. That shift is not selfish, it's self-preservation. Because the truth is, you cannot give fully if you are empty, and the longer you stay entangled in a one-sided dynamic, the more you bleed yourself dry. Stepping away frees you from that. It allows you to refill, to recharge, to rebuild. And in that rebuilding, you discover something powerful. You are whole on your own. What makes detachment so freeing is that it opens the door for alignment. When you stop clinging, when you stop chasing, when you stop trying to force someone to value you, you create space for relationships that actually do. You stop being available for disrespect, for half effort, for inconsistency. Instead, you begin attracting people, opportunities, and experiences that meet you where you are because you've raised the standard by refusing to settle. And the amazing part, the people who once overlooked you often wake up when you detach. They see the void, they feel the absence, they realize that the comfort of your presence wasn't guaranteed. Sometimes they return, sometimes they don't, but either way, you've gained something they can't take from you: freedom. Detachment is not running away, it's choosing peace. It's not about proving a point, it's about protecting your soul. It's about understanding that your value doesn't increase or decrease based on who notices it. By stepping away, you unshackle yourself from the need for validation. You give yourself back to yourself, and in that act of freedom, you rise stronger, clearer, and more grounded than ever before. Your power often speaks the loudest in silence. It's not in the debates, not in the explanations, not in the endless cycle of trying to make someone see your worth. Words can be ignored, arguments can be twisted, promises can be made and broken, but silence, that cannot be dismissed. Silence is undeniable. It carries a weight that presses into someone's awareness every single time they notice the absence of your voice, your touch, your presence. When you step away and allow the silence to settle, you give space for the truth to echo louder than anything you could have ever said. Most people are addicted to noise. They thrive on constant reassurance, constant engagement, constant proof that you're still there. When you keep giving them that, they assume it will never end. But when you go quiet, when you step back and stop feeding that cycle, everything shifts. They feel the emptiness like a mirror staring back at them. The texts that used to arrive don't anymore. The calls that once filled their nights stop ringing. The attention they relied on fades, and that silence becomes a message they cannot avoid. Your presence was never guaranteed. Silence is powerful because it leaves space for reflection. In the quiet, they are forced to confront the reality of their own actions. They start to think about the words they said, the chances they missed, the way they treated you. Every memory becomes sharper in your absence because the noise that distracted them is gone. The mind doesn't let go of what it suddenly loses, and in that silence, it replays your value over and over again. That's not something you had to demand, it's something they had to feel. But silence doesn't just affect them. It transforms you too. By pulling back your voice, your explanations, your efforts, you reclaim your energy. You step out of the exhausting loop of proving and defending and into the stillness of your own strength. In that stillness, you rediscover yourself. You remember what it feels like to exist without constantly trying to be seen. That's where your power grows, because it's no longer dependent on someone else's recognition. It's rooted in your own knowing. The beauty of silence is that it draws a line without you having to raise your voice. It communicates boundaries without confrontation. It says, I am done giving more than I receive. I am done explaining my worth. I am done waiting to be appreciated. It's calm, but it's final, and that calmness shakes them in a way anger never could. Anger they can dismiss. Silence they cannot escape. So when you step away and let silence speak for you, you send the clearest message of all. I will no longer fight for a place in your world. If you cannot see my value, my silence will teach you. That is where your power expands, not in noise, but in the strength of restraint, and in that silence, while they fall apart, you come back to yourself whole, unshaken, and stronger than ever. When you look at the journey we've just walked through, one truth becomes clear. Stepping away is not weakness, it's wisdom. It is the decision to stop begging for recognition and instead allow your absence to do the teaching. Absence creates awareness. The silence and the space you leave behind carry lessons no amount of words could deliver. When you step back, the blinders come off. People suddenly realize the depth of your presence only when it's no longer there to hold them up. And in that realization, you gain the clarity to see what they could never admit when you were still giving endlessly. But beyond their awareness lies your transformation. Every time you step away, you rise higher. Stepping back is stepping up. It's the moment you declare to yourself and to the world, I will no longer settle for being half, seen half, heard half, loved. That act of courage breaks the cycle of dependency and teaches you that your worth doesn't shrink because someone failed to see it. On the contrary, your worth expands as you reclaim your energy. By refusing to keep pouring into people who drain you, you create space to pour into yourself. And from that space comes freedom, power, and a new level of self-respect. And then comes the revelation. Pressure exposes character. When you pull back, masks fall off. The truth shows itself in how others respond when the comfort of your presence is gone. Do they step forward or do they collapse? That clarity may sting, but it's liberating. It shows you where loyalty lives and where it never existed. It also forces you to understand the sacredness of your energy, because when your energy leaves, others finally feel the weight of what they lost. They feel the gap you once filled, and in that absence, respect is born. Respect not because you demanded it, but because your energy, once withheld, spoke louder than any argument could, and at the heart of it all is freedom. Detachment is not rejection, it's liberation. By stepping away, you cut the strings that kept you tied to someone else's validation. You learn that you don't need to be seen by another to be whole. You become untangled from expectations, from disappointment, from waiting for someone else to give you what you can give yourself. And in that freedom, you rediscover your voice, your power, your self-worth. And through the silence of detachment, your power only multiplies. Your silence speaks volumes. It teaches, it sets boundaries, it declares your value without you having to say a single word. So in the end, remember this. When you step away, yes, they may fall apart. They may feel the cracks in the world you once held together, but you don't crumble. You rise, you don't lose, you gain, you don't break. You become whole again. Stepping away isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of a stronger, freer, more powerful chapter. Let them feel the absence. Let them wrestle with the silence. Let them confront the reality, and while they're falling apart, you'll be standing taller, shining brighter, and living fully in the truth of your own worth. Thank you for sharing your time, your focus, and your energy with me today. Remember, your presence is a gift, your energy is power, and your silence carries more weight than you realize. Never underestimate the strength you hold when you choose yourself. As you leave here, carry this truth with you. You are not defined by who sees your worth. You are defined by the unshakable value you carry within you. Step away when you need to, stand tall when you must, and never forget that your freedom, your peace, and your strength come first. I honor you for showing up, for listening, and for being willing to rise into a higher standard for your life. Keep this fire alive, protect it, nurture it, and let it guide you into the life you truly deserve. Thank you. God bless you, and until we meet again, stand strong, rise higher, and never forget the power you hold. Goodbye, and keep shining.